The horror school, it was a dark and stormy night. When I arrived at the gates of St. Mortimer's Academy, a notorious boarding school nestled in the heart of the countryside, the imposing Gothic architecture loomed ominously in the moonlight, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance and twist in the wind. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong here, but I had no choice but to attend the school after my parents had sent me away. As I made my way through the creaking iron gates, I felt a chill run down my spine. The air seemed to grow colder as I walked across the deserted courtyard towards the main building. The windows were all dark, and not a single soul could be seen or heard. It was as if the entire school was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. I was shown to my room in the west wing of the building, a long, dimly lit corridor lined with portraits of stern-looking headmasters and mistresses from decades past. The room itself was small and cramped, with ancient furniture and peeling wallpaper that seemed to close in around me. As I lay in bed that night, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every creak, every rustle sent shivers down my spine, and I found myself unable to sleep. The next morning, I awoke to find that my room had been ransacked. Books and clothes were strewn across the floor, and the mirror had been shattered into 1,000 pieces. I searched the room for any sign of an intruder, but there was nothing. It was as if the room itself had turned against me. As the days passed, I began to notice strange things happening around the school. Students would vanish without a trace, their belongings left behind, as if they had never existed. The teachers seemed to grow more and more distant, their eyes filled with a cold, calculating malice that sent shivers down my spine. And then there were the whispers, ghostly voices that seemed to drift through the halls, speaking words that I couldn't quite make out. I tried to leave, to escape the suffocating grip of St. Mortimer's, but every time I came to the iron gates, they seemed to loom higher and higher, their twisted bars forming an impenetrable barrier. It was as if the school itself was alive, holding me captive within its suffocating embrace. One night as I lay in bed, I saw a figure standing at the foot of my bed. It was a girl, her eyes hollow and empty, her skin as pale as the moon. She spoke to me in a voice that seemed to come from the depths of the earth itself, telling me that the school was cursed, that it hungered for the souls of the living. She warned me to flee, to run as far and as fast as I could, before it was too late. That was the last night I spent at St. Mortimer's Academy. I ran from the school, never looking back, and as I reached the safety of the outside world, I turned to see the building itself collapse in on itself, consumed by a swirling vortex of darkness. To this day, I can still hear the whispers of the school calling out to me in the dead of night, and I know that I will never truly escape the horror of St. Mortimer's Academy. It is a place where the living should never tread, a place where the darkness holds sway and the souls of the lost wander for eternity. As the clock struck midnight, the gates of St. Ravenwood School for the supernatural creaked open, and a chilling mist rolled in, enveloping the grounds. The once prestigious institution had long been abandoned, its halls filled with whispers of the dark and twisted secrets that lurked within. Legend had it that the school was built on cursed grounds, where the spirits of the restless dead roamed freely. Many had entered its halls, but few had ever returned, their souls forever trapped within its walls. As the brave souls dared to step foot inside, they were greeted with a feeling of dread that gnawed at their very souls. The corridors twisted and turned, leading them deeper into the heart of darkness that pulsed at the center of the school. Whispers echoed through the halls, their words indiscernible, but filled with malice and menace. Shadows danced along the walls, their movements unnaturally fluid and sinister. The air grew colder with each passing moment, sending shivers down the spines of those who dared to explore the forbidden school. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence, causing hearts to race and breath to hitch in fear. The source of the scream was unknown, but its terror lingered in the air, thick and palpable. As they inched closer to the heart of the school, the true horror of St. Ravenwood's was revealed. The walls were lined with grotesque paintings of long-forgotten students, their eyes following every movement with a malevolent gaze. The floors were stained with the blood of those who had met a gruesome fate within its cursed halls. Panic set in as the realization dawned on them. They were not alone in St. Ravenwood's School for the Supernatural. Something sinister and ancient lurked in the shadows, waiting to claim their souls for eternity. And as the last of the brave souls tried to flee, the door slammed shut, sealing their fate within the cursed school. The screams and pleas for mercy echoed through the halls, drowned out by the malevolent laughter of the spirits that called St. Ravenwood's home. And so the legend of St. Ravenwood's School for the Supernatural lived on, a cautionary tale for those who dared to seek out the horrors that lay hidden within its walls. It was a dark and stormy night as I made my way to the old, abandoned school on the outskirts of town. The wind howled as the rain beat against the windows, creating an eerie sound that sent chills down my spine. I had heard the rumors about this place, about the strange happenings that occurred within its walls, but I never believed them. Until now, as I entered the school, I could feel the air grow colder and the atmosphere become more oppressive. It was as if the very building itself was alive, watching my every move. I made my way down the dark, empty hallways, the sound of my own footsteps echoing around me. The only light came from the occasional flickering bulb, casting long, ominous shadows on the walls. Suddenly, I heard a faint whisper coming from the end of the hallway. I froze in fear, unable to move, as the whispered words grew louder and more distinct. "Get out," they seemed to say. "Leave this place before it's too late." But I couldn't bring myself to leave. I had to know the truth about this place. As I continued down the hallway, the whispers turned into anguished wails and cries. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. As I finally reached the end of the hallway, what I saw there made my blood run cold. It was a classroom, but not like any I had ever seen. The walls were covered in strange symbols, and the desks were overturned, as if there had been a struggle. I felt a chill run down my spine, and I knew I had to get out of there. But as I turned to leave, the door slammed shut in front of me, trapping me inside. I pounded on the door, screaming for someone to help me, but there was no one around to hear. That's when I heard the laughter, a high-pitched, maniacal laughter that seemed to come from all around me. I felt a presence behind me, and I turned, only to come face to face with a figure that seemed to be made of shadows. It reached out for me with long, claw-like fingers, and I knew that I was in the presence of pure evil. As I struggled to break free, I heard a voice in my head, cold and menacing. "Welcome to the horror school," it said. "You will never escape." And that's when I knew that I was trapped in this nightmare forever. The horror school had claimed another victim, and I would never be seen again.